Welcome to Planetary Gig Talk, Tales of Music and Magic. I'm your host, Jefferson Glassy, Chief Spiritual Dude of the Planetary Gig Society, whose mission is creating unity through music. And today we have the great pleasure of talking with a fabulous musician with quite a story, played today at the Silver Spring Blues Festival, Mr. Robert Lighthouse. Robert, how are you? Thanks for being here.
Thank you. I'm very good.
Yeah, good.
Nice.
So, I remember the first time that you electronically came into my life. It was about 1998. I was listening to WPFW on the radio, and a song from Drive Through Love of yours came on, where you're just jamming on the guitar, playing the harp through your instrument there.
Right.
And I'm like, oh my God, that's amazing.
Wow.
And it's kind of stuck with me for a long time. And I've seen you sometimes when you played around in DC and whatever. But so I really enjoy your music, and glad that you're here and take a little bit of time to do this. But
great.
When did music come into your life? How did this happen? Did your parents play music? And I know your story involves, leaving where you were born.
Right.
And coming to the United States and playing around the world, really.
Mm-hmm.
But where'd you get your start in music?
Well, I think most kids loves, it's very universal.
Yeah.
But I guess some kids more than others, because I used to sing I was born in 1963. So when I was about 3 or 4, I would sing all the Beatles songs, and they would think it's so cute and funny. They gave me a little, toy guitar I had for a little bit. Then, so I remember my mom bought a record player, 1970.
Wow.
And some albums like, there was some Leonard Cohen, there was some Jesus Christ Superstar, some Billie Holiday. It was some good mix.
Yeah.
And I could just, of course I was out playing most of the time, but at home, like, we didn't have, as you know, many things in the house that was really fun. But I could really put the headphones on. I could lay there and listen to the whole Jesus Christ Superstar, when I was like 7 or 8.
Wow.
So really, I could spend, or we would just have it out in the house to the music. So, yeah, music was very. There weren't musicians in the family. I think on my dad's side, they all could sing, and they would. Cause my dad is from Yugoslavia, or now Croatia, so they would, and I think the whole family, arts in general was unappreciated.
So you really remember music very distinctly when you were very small.
Oh yeah.
So when did was guitar your main instrument always? Is that what you picked up? And when did you do that? Did you take lessons? Did you?
So I was into sports, I did all this little.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. That's what you did. And,
right.
And
yep.
But the fact that I was, let me put it this way: my friends kind of grew away. They outgrew me pretty quick, and then I wasn't as good in sports. So I was kind of late. I lived out in the part of Sweden, these sort of lumberjack types. They were all big dudes, and I still was kind of small. So I used to be pretty good in sports, but then I said, no, sports, I better focus on guitar.
Oh, so when you were a teenager,
yeah. So I was, probably 14 or so. My mom bought me a guitar, maybe earlier, 12. I did some lessons, and I didn't really, I had this German teacher. Couldn't play chords. So I did a little things, but I couldn't connect that with like Deep Purple or whatever music we were listening to in the 70s, these bands.
So what kind of music were you playing when you first sort of started seriously, maybe late teenage years, whatever that was?
Yeah, so to jump ahead, then it was the blues that really, I had a friend of mine, when we were 14, and he played some Muddy Waters. It was this real, plantation kind of, or spars just slide the single note. But I could connect to this, we listened to Nazareth or these bands, from the 70s, like
Yeah.
Uriah Heep or whatever.
Yeah.
Which is all a bunch of sounds, but essentially it's those that blues in the bottom. That
So
most
that-
rock and roll that's where it all comes from.
Right. So that's what really resonated with you.
Yeah.
And then did you play in blues bands or anything?
Well, that didn't, so I could rush a little. So my friend and we hung out and played, and we, it took many years just to get a tone. And then Jimi Hendrix came. That was the only thing I listened to for many, many years.
Yeah.
Jimi Hendrix. So I was totally. That was it. There was nothing that could compare to Jimi Hendrix. From maybe 15 to almost, 18, 19, 20. Then maybe I started listening to some other stuff. Then to fast forward, we played. I had some little guitar, not really blues bands, but we played some other music. We played on the streets a little bit in Sweden.
Yeah.
And then I moved here to America.
And why did you move here? Was
I think I
partly
always-
because of music, or you just?
There was some different things, but yeah, music big part.
Yeah.
So I had also read a book about the Hopi Indians, and I was really blown away by that. So I went out there. First time when I was 18, that was 1982, and those are still my family out there now. Like they kind of adopted me, and
Wow.
some, I still go out there like, at least once a year.
So I know that you have played around a lot of places for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, what is it about music and playing music that really grabs you? Can you kind of describe, I don't know, the feelings or what it gives you, or what is it with music that makes people want to go to the ends of the earth practically,
Right.
to
Yeah.
play?
Well, like all the art forms, I think you add to another. With theater and plays, you also, you can create an imaginary world for a little bit that is also relates to reality in ways that maybe it's hard to, when we have, put in words, but they could do that in a theater. It makes you think. Or, art, any kind of art. Music has the instrumental music, just even if you didn't have any words. You could put that feeling into a note. All this, mix of sorrows and frustrations and sadness that it goes straight to your heart. I think that's why it's mostly even more powerful. I just, Ingmar Bergman, the movie maker.
Uh-huh.
I listened to his autobiography, and he was also very much into music, but through music, even without the words, that's how I think with the Hendrix thing, I could really I could just feel, a bunch of stuff that you couldn't, like, if you wanted to sit
just
down.
by talking with you, like, you can't
Yeah,
feel it.
you could try and explain all your feelings, what you feel like, what it feels like to be this or that, or you grow old, or you divorce, or you just met a great girl, or you're super happy, but so I think that it's communication that goes, when it's very powerful. That's why I think it's in some ways it's more powerful than otherwise you have to become a dictator. No, I'm saying dictators was mostly afraid of like Stalin. They had Shostakovich, for instance. Just him, doing symphonies, he could tell. I read his book. He could tell a story. Everybody in the audience knew what this piece was about. So you could do a social commentary, or everybody would know it. So they couldn't, because you could tell with the moods and the music. This is about this thing. So they had a whole, and there was, Stalin almost gave him very bad reviews from some of the first, because he didn't understand it, or what I'm saying? It
more
was
powerful than he was.
It was more power under the surface. I mean, you can have the force of police and military and what do you call it, KGB, the secret, taking people away and make them disappear. But
Right.
people underneath, the hope, that's how I think some music help people just survive. Like in
Yeah.
the South, like in blacks.
In the
and
South, absolutely.
African Americans, you were still worth something. You barely have nothing to eat or anything but your soul. So it's very, very powerful.
Yeah, I got really into John Lomax recordings, the old field recordings,
Yeah.
spirituals, field hollers, work songs.
Yeah.
And he said, they took everything away from these people,
Mhm.
but they still had the glorious humanity to sing.
Yeah. And their
that's-
self-worth could be expressed through their songs and
Yeah. So now you've been playing for so many people all over the place. You see audiences affected by your music. How does it? You've just talked about how it affects society. Other thoughts about when people are affected by music, what it can do for them? I mean, it does have this emotion.
Yeah, I think it has the same thing there. It could be transforming, life. It don't have to be, but if I hear something really blows me away, I have to have it. Doesn't happen that often, and I don't listen to everything. But I mean, it's a way to connect, just have fun, just dancing, to move your body. That is, I think they. I mean, you can go and go into these gyms and go on a machine and just sort of push back and forth, but dance. Like when down at the Folklife Festival,
Yes.
a couple of years ago, they had Kenya. It was Kenya and China, and I was down there every day in the tent, and because for the Kenyans they had, they were dancing, and they showed people moves to dance, and just how to loosen up your shoulders. So all these moves. I mean, a lot of white people, we're kind of raised to be tight. We're very tight.
Absolutely.
So that looseness
Well said.
and the dancing, it comes also in the music, to be sort of not tight in the music, because that's something I have to unlearn, to sort of, it's an approach that is very relaxed, yet powerful, but it doesn't come from a cringy place. It comes from it's a different approach and makes everything sound a lot better.
Yeah, that's really profound. One other question. What do you think there's things that we can do, musicians, other people, dancers, non-musicians, to help to kind of tap in more to this power of music? Particularly, we've got a crazy situation in the world today.
I know.
Anything else? What would you, if you could tell a bunch of people what, give them some ideas of things to do that could help, make a little bit better world, using the power of music. Do you have any ideas about that or thoughts? I mean, you do a great job in your performing.
Yeah, it's a big question. It's a good opportunity. Those are things I'm thinking about all the time. How we can, because everything looks so gloomy.
Yeah.
The reason why, when I went out to the Hopi Indians, that was 1982. They, their prophecies were about how the world, all this. Now it's people thought I was crazy back then, or a little bit, like, because they were talking about not end of the world, but the world's going to change.
Yeah.
That we're right in the midst of right now. So I think it's about us moving up to a different conscience. Like Trump and people like that, or other people are so addicted to just collect more and more monies or whatever it is. It's almost a disease. Like
it is a disease, I believe.
It's no point. What's the point? It's all here. Why do you have to? Doesn't matter if you own it, or what I'm saying. It's just that thought of, like, the Native Indians. They didn't have that thought of the land.
Right.
They had their little personal, little bag and their bow and arrow, your pipe, whatever. Personal stuff. That's normal. But the land, they didn't have any concept of owning I mean, of course, they fought over land, and everything wasn't perfect then either.
Right.
And they fought over good hunting grounds, probably.
But I
I'm
guess
just saying,
music helps you with that connection to
That-
what we are
yeah.
and the earth.
but how we all could make this world a better place. I mean, music certainly could play a big role in it.
Well, that's
But, you know, for one, the plastic. Stop throwing away plastic.
yeah,
And stop
yeah.
actually, I think, to work on the legal side to, you know, kind of ban the oil derived plastic that ends up in the, you know, my favorite place is the river,
Yeah.
right? You know, the towpath, whatever, on
Yeah,
the
we live
Maryland
right
side.
near the
Yeah.
towpath.
Yeah.
Right near Paul and
Yeah,
Jimi.
yeah, exactly. Every day now, I started just bring a bag, or I find a bag, and I pick up all this plastic that comes with the river. That ends up in the ocean. And the ocean is already, you know, there's islands of plastic the size of, I don't know, states almost. It's insane. And that's, I mean, that you can pick up, but the other stuff that when it started to disintegrate,
Yeah.
and this little microplastics gets into the fish, or it gets into the, you know, gets into us.
Right.
And we don't know what it does to, you know, when it's small. Anyways, very bad. So that's one little thing that we could, you know,
yeah.
pick up trash when you're out in nature, and or you know, make people don't throw it away, but also maybe stop using. I mean, they're talking a lot about that these days.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think you're right. Music kind of helps bring you to that consciousness where you recognize these things and can do something about it.
That's yeah.
Okay, well, Robert, I know you've got to
Gotta
go
go.
on to
Yeah,
another
yeah,
gig.
gotta
I
go to
really
another gig.
appreciate you taking the time to talk with me here
Very nice, man.
today, everybody. Thanks very much,
All right.
Robert Lighthouse.
All right. Thank you.
You've been listening to Planetary Gig Talk, Tales of Music and Magic. I'm your host, Jefferson Glassy, Chief Spiritual Dude of the Planetary Gig Society. We talk with musicians and others about the power of music and how we can use music to help create a better world. Please check out our website, www.planetarygigs.org, for information about some of the organizations promoting music and musicians, resources about the power of music, books, movies, articles, including new research on music and the brain. We welcome your support. The Planetary Gig Society is a Section 501c3 charitable organization, and you can donate on the website. You also can receive a free email signature block demonstrating your support for Planetary Gig Society. Please follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at Planetary Gigs. And we want to thank fabulous musician and teacher Eric Weinberg of Little Eric Studios for the Planetary Gig Talk music titled Chill Kid, It's Saul. So please check out Planetary Gig Talk on iTunes, Google Play, and Stitcher. Subscribe and hear all the upcoming episodes. Thanks very much.